I have a John Deere Z-757, under 150 hours, that loses power and runs very sluggishly when the mower blades are engaged, very little blade RPM. Same sluggishness occurred within the first 4 hours of use. Dealership claimed the coil was bad and replaced it.
Welcome to Just Answer Small Engines. Let me try to help you. Setting is between the end of the valve and the rocker arm tip. Loosen the spark plug wires, crank engine and remove one at a time. Check spark and see if both sides make difference when unplugged. No difference would indicate cylinder is not firing. These engines run remarkably well on one cylinder. If cylinder is not firing, and it has spark, then compression needs to be checked, and if good, check the valves and rocker arms. Push rod or rocker can be off. Let me know. Thank you.
Appears the cylinder where the previous coil was replaced is not firing.
Spark?
No spark on one plug. When I remove plug wire from firing cylinder, engine dies.
No spark can be coil, or it can be the wiring harness to the coil. Are you going to go into the flywheel cover, or are you going to take it back to Deere? Full-size image. See #XXXXX, unplug it and see if both spark plugs fire.
I'm assuming the number 5 wire goes to both coils. Should I remove number 5 wire from both?
Yes, remove the wire from both.
After removing both number 5 wires, there is no change, left cylinder still not firing, right cylinder is firing.
So the coil is bad. Seems unlikely that same coil would be out again. You did say there was no spark? Did say.
I also find this to be odd. Could the air gap be too large for this coil? Do I need to pull engine to replace coil as manual states?
Can you see the coil? I don't know why engine would need to be pulled. Coil's just held on with two 8mm bolts, I think. Gap should be about 0.010.
I am removing the shroud to the flywheel because the access panels are too tight. I will purchase a new coil and advise in a few hours.
Okay, thanks.
John Deere dealer charged me $68 for new coil. New coil had extra insulation on plug wire. I installed new coil. No change. This cylinder is still not firing. I am not seeing any spark from plug wire.
All wiring back in place.
I am not seeing any spark when engine is running and I lift plug wire half from plug. I assume I can test spark any place on engine.
Yes, as long as it is metal on engine. Is the #XXXXX harness back on? Unplug it from one end only and try it.
I am not seeing any spark when I lift plug wire half from plug. Assuming I can test it anywhere on engine.
If you attach plugins ground it, do you see spark at the plug tip?
Yes, when I ground it there is spark. Looks like I purchased a new coil for no reason. So is the cylinder working?
No, you have spark, does not make the cylinder fire. You can have valve problem or compression problem. Check compression. If compression is good, remove the valve cover and see if the rocker arms are moving the valves.
I do not have a compression tester. Is compression test required before checking the rocker arms?
No, just remove the rocker cover and check them. Valves should have 0.006 inch clearance.
The rods were not in the rocker arm slots. Both rods are bent, assuming they should be straight. Also, found a very small diameter spring in oil.
Push rods have to be straight. Spring? Coiled spring or straight?
One coiled spring, 1/32 diameter, just under 2 in length. I am not finding it in diagram.
Real fine coil? Maybe a crankshaft seal spring. Is one end pointed so it will fit in the other?
The spring is squashed with several kinks. How did it get up in the top of the rocker arm area? What kind of damage am I looking at? I am assuming just replacing the rods is not safe.
Where is the spring? I would push around on the valves, and if they are not stuck, just replace the push rods and reset the clearance. Spring may be steel, or if stainless, magnet will not pick up. Spring was under rocker cover. Valve stem seal has spring around it. Maybe this is what caused valve to stick and bed push rods. Full size image.
It was sitting in a little oil in a well area between the two rocker arm springs. It is magnetic. Where is the valve stem seal located?
Under the valve spring, on the stem of the valve. It seals the oil from being sucked into the cylinder, usually only on the intake valve stem.
Saturday 08:30 I do not have a valve spring compressor. If I remove the rocker arm and springs, what problems could I encounter? Do I need to be concerned about debris that may have fallen?
I would not do anything but replace the push rods and see how it runs. The valve stem seal will not be a problem.
Okay. I will advise. Later.
Okay.
Saturday 12:30 I have bent two rods and trying to adjust rocker to 0.102. I am setting both at TDC, when flywheel contact is at right contact of coil, and I am rotating flywheel counterclockwise. Is this correct?
I adjust the valves by turning one down, then set the one that is up. Always works, and valves need to be set at 0.006 inch. Then turn engine until the set one is down and the opposite is up, then set it. Where did you find 0.102? Setting is between the end of the valve and the rocker arm tip. Our chat has ended, but you can still continue to ask me questions here until you are satisfied with your answer. Come back to this page to view our conversation and any other new information. What happens now? Or, you can reply to me using the box below.
Curtis, sorry. 102 mm is also 006 in. Is our chat over with? If not, I must be missing something with the valve adjustment because the push rod on the exhaust valve keeps bending. Could the valve be sticking? I set the intake valve at TDC and it appears to work okay without bending when I turn the flywheel. Your instruction was to set the one that is up, you mean the push rod, correct? Then turn engine until the set one is down and opposite is up. How much do you turn the flywheel for this to occur, a couple of inches or a half rotation?
Valve can be stuck. With spark plug out, feel for piston, be sure it is not close to the valve. Remove the rocker arm, oil the valve and then use a hammer to tap on the end of the valve stem to see if it is stuck and if it will free up. Do not adjust when pushrod is up, you want the rocker arm up and there should be some play in the rocker, you want to set it at top of travel. This means the other valve spring will be compressed. I sent picture of the valve adjustment procedure. Scroll up to find it. Curtis B 41433.8563148843.
The image and instructions did not look like Z-757. At TDC the intake valve pushrod is down and is set at 006 in. The exhaust pushrod is also down, but if I set it the pushrod will bend when the flywheel is turned. I noticed that within the spring on the exhaust valve, the valve stem is not as exposed as is on the intake valve stem. I checked the other cylinder and they both have the same amount of valve stem exposed. My diagrams do not display anything that may have pushed up. The image and instructions did not look like Z-757. At TDC the intake valve pushrod is down and is set at 006 in. The exhaust pushrod is also down, but if I set it the pushrod will bend when the flywheel is turned. I noticed that within the spring on the exhaust valve, the valve stem is not as exposed as is on the intake valve stem. I checked the other cylinder and they both have the same amount of valve stem exposed. My diagrams do not display anything that may have pushed up. Before tapping on the valve stem, is removing the compression spring also necessary?
No. Now when valves are to be set at TDC, it has to be on the compression stroke. You do not want to remove the valve spring. You do that and the cylinder head will have to be removed.
After tapping the valve down, I was able to set the adjustment without bending the pushrod. While reinstalling the flywheel cover, a machine screw broke and I had to extract it. The engine started okay. I let it warm up about 5 minutes before engaging the blades. I kept the RPM lower than normal and ran the mower for about 30 minutes without any problem. It still may need a valve adjustment. I'm concerned about why the valve was pushed up into the spring and the broken spring from the valve stem seal. Is this going to bite me in the near future? I will complete the feedback. Thanks for your assistance, Curtis.
I think you will be okay, just as long as the valve does not stick again. Valve can stick, get into the piston and cause bigger damage. I would run it and see what happens if it belonged to me. You know the symptoms, so if it does it again, figure on removing the head and having the valves repaired. Maybe new valves and guides. Thank you for your patience. Good to work with you.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.